Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really fascinating stack of sources, some excerpts one of our listeners shared, and we're going to unpack them, try and find the most important bits of knowledge and insight.
Yeah, think of it as maybe your shortcut to getting properly informed on what's, well, a pretty complex subject here. We'll explore different angles, look for those aha
Yeah.
moments, and connects the dots across all the different threads in this material.
Exactly. And this deep dive, it's really tailored just for you, listener, diving into characters and conflicts across several different regions, but based only on the sources you gave us. Our job here is basically to guide you through it all and point out what really jumps out.
Right. From the political games happening in the capital and way out in the provinces to these really personal quests and struggles of individuals just trying to navigate this, well, turbulent world. There's a ton of detail in these pages.
So let's get into the stack and see what surprising facts and, insights start to emerge. Okay, maybe let's start with some characters who are kind of scattered, right? Across the realm, searching for something important. The sources kick off with Brienne of Tarth, still on that relentless mission to find Sansa Stark.
And straight away, the details really show you how tough that is. She's taking the shortest route to Duskendale, asking basically everyone she bumps into.
Hmm.
Simple folk, guards at places like Rosby Castle.
And yeah, it doesn't take long before she runs into trouble and suspicion. She meets this Sir Creighton Longbow, who seems more interested in bragging about battles and ransoms.
Oh yeah, the Blackwater battle, killing Sir
Yeah.
Herbert Bowling, all that. But his companion, Sir Illifer, he's much sharper, much more cynical. He spots her shield, right, challenges who she is, and just gets right to it, accusing her of, opening Renly's throat.
Wow.
It just immediately shows how misunderstood and judged she is, pretty much based on how she looks and what people think happened.
She's got companions, too. Podrick Payne and this Nimble Dick character. And Nimble Dick. The sources make him sound, well, less than trustworthy.
Definitely. He suggests, sharing a bed to save coin? And she catches him trying to rifle through her saddlebags when she's distracted.
Yeah, that detail tells you a lot about the kind of company she's forced to keep right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She clearly doesn't trust him, tells Podrick to watch him. It forces her to be super practical, really cautious, keeps her gold on her, even has that decoy purse filled with coppers and flour from that inn. The Seven Swords in Duskendale, was it?
Right, the Seven Swords. And as if the company wasn't bad enough, the journey itself gets harder. The road literally dwindles, just ends at a cliff near Lord Bryn's castle. They have to take this tricky path through the pines.
And Brienne's just running on empty. Her thighs feel like iron. She's hardly sleeping. She starts thinking Dick might be, deliberately misleading them, maybe into an ambush. Or just in circles, waiting for someone, perhaps.
That feeling of just exhaustion, physical and mental, plus the constant threat of betrayal, it really underlines the sheer grind of fulfilling that oath.
She is pushing herself to the absolute limit.
And speaking of threats, they run into outlaws, Tymian, Pig, some others who were with Vargo Hoat back at Harrenhal.
Uh-huh. And this gives us a really grim update from the Riverlands. Temian tells this horrific story about Vargo Hoat's end, how Vargo bit off his own ear and it got infected, festered, how he stayed at Harrenhal calling himself Lord for a bit, and then how Gregor Clegane killed him, piece by piece.
Saving a particularly nasty detail for last, apparently, before Gregor got called off to King's Landing.
That detail alone is just chilling. And then Pig makes this absolutely vile offer to Brienne, basically, pay for sex or they'll just rape her and take her gold anyway. And he specifically mentions how the Mountain treated Vargo Hoat. It's immediate, it's brutal, it forces her hand. And Brienne chooses to fight. The sources show her using Oathkeeper, Jaime's sword, stabbing Pig in the thigh, then the throat. Damien attacks with a spear, just misses her face, and the detail that she doesn't flinch. That's key.
Yeah, it shows how hardened she is, despite being exhausted.
Exactly. Her resolve.
And then, it's abrupt. The sources cut to her waking up later, wounded, being taken in a boat across a foggy river by these hooded figures. She hears voices calling her beauty and freak terms that really speak to her whole struggle with identity and appearance.
Right. Someone named Jane, maybe Jane Heddle, is looking after her, giving her soup. She finds out Gendry turned back at the river to protect Willow and the little ones. And there's this ominous figure, a shadow man with a dog's head helm, saying something like, "Let her choke, save a rope."
Creepy. This whole disorienting sequence leads to her waking up in a cave and meeting the elder brother from the Quiet Isle.
And through him, we get this, well, pretty definitive statement about what happened to Sandor Clegane, the Hound.
According to the elder brother, yeah, the Hound was brought there nearly dead, face half-eaten off, basically. They gave him milk of the poppy, and he died.
And the elder brother's description of him is really quite poignant. He calls him bitter, tormented, a sinner who mocked gods and men, served without pride, fought without joy, drank to drown the pain, felt no love, wasn't loved. Hate drove him, apparently, especially the dream of killing his brother.
A dream that Oberyn Martell kind of stole from him with the poison.
Exactly, even that was taken away. The elder brother says they buried him near the trident.
So if the source is right, the Hound is dead. But Brienne, even after all this, she's still focused. She insists she has to find Sansa, reminds the elder brother about her promise to Jaime, and that other people want Sansa for the queen. She needs to find her first, save her, or die trying.
That oath is her anchor, isn't it? Her whole motivation.
Yeah.
But then she's brought before someone you just would not expect to see again. Stoneheart, the animated Catelyn Stark.
And Stoneheart just accuses her of betrayal? Brienne swears she's innocent by the Seven, by her sword, Oathkeeper, and Stoneheart's response, words are wind. Chilling.
Totally chilling. She demands Brienne prove her faith with her sword, and then points at Podrick and Sir Hyle. It's just this brutal, impossible choice, a real cliffhanger in source material.
Meanwhile, completely different part of the world, far from the Riverlands and the Quiet Isle, Samwell Tarly is on a totally different kind of journey, more like a desperate escape. He's still at the Wall, finding comfort in books, falling into them like other worlds. Needs a cushion for his chair.
And he's taking care of Maester Aemon, whose frailty is just painfully obvious. Needs help with everything, even the ravens. Sam knows immediately, a sea voyage. That's incredibly risky for the old man.
But Sam's fear for Aemon's safety at the Wall just skyrockets after Aemon connects Stannis to Melisandre needing king's blood for her magic. Sam realizes Aemon, with his Targaryen blood, is in serious danger if he stays put.
Right, so he arranges for Darion, the singer, to join them at Eastwatch. It seems like a small detail, but it shows Sam trying to find allies, maybe hoping Darion's songs could, I don't know, lift spirits or smooth things over somehow.
They set sail from Eastwatch on the Blackbird. Sam gets his usual seasickness, that queasy belly, but he's trying to be brave for Gilly. She's never even seen the sea before.
And you can imagine for Gilly, it's terrifying. All she knew before the Wall was Craster's Keep and the woods. Lakes were a big deal. The sea, it's huge, unknown, scary. She's trembling, crying, white-faced, hiding below deck.
And Darion naturally complains about Gilly and the baby crying. Sam has to try and explain her fear, which really shows his protective side.
Yeah, definitely. All while Maester Aemon keeps getting weaker. He's frail, needs help getting below, have these moments of confusion, calling out egg, dreaming he's old, even shedding tears sometimes.
Their arrival in Braavos brings new problems. The sources describe this cold room in the inn and the shocking cost of firewood. Apparently, Braavos has no forests nearby, wood is barged in, even dung for fuel is expensive. They use boats instead of horses.
Yeah, it's a totally different economy. Their money runs out, they can't afford more wood, and Sam feels terrible he can't keep Aemon warmer. It becomes really clear that another sea voyage would probably kill the old maester.
It's in Braavos that Sam has this brief, seemingly random encounter with a girl calling herself Cat. Smells of fish, speaks the common tongue, tells him some story about her father being killed by a Bravo, how she ended up with a man named Brusco who gave her a barrow. Asks Sam what ship he's on.
That little detail is important. It connects Sam, just for a second, to another character's story we'll get to. But first, Aemon has this incredibly crucial moment of clarity about prophecy, about the whole struggle for the realm.
He wakes up, starts talking about prophecy in his brother's dream. Says Melisandre got it wrong. He admits Stannis has some dragon blood through Rael, but regrets ever hoping or deceiving himself that Stannis was the promised prince.
It's a powerful moment. Aemon, the ancient Targaryen maester, saying flat out that Stannis' sword, Lightbringer, it's wrong. It's light without heat, an empty trick, a false light leading deeper into darkness. It's a really stark judgment on Stannis and Melisandre's path.
And then he gives his final urgent command. Daenerys is their hope. He tells Sam, go to the Citadel, tell them they must send a maester to advise her, teach her, protect her.
It's like the clarity of a dying man, cutting through all the noise, even facing death. Aemon finds this wry perspective, thinking it's silly to fear darkness when he lives in it anyway. Wonders what comes next. The father's hall, talking with Egg, hearing his sisters sing, but then grimly notes only whites have ever come back from beyond that final wall.
They eventually reach the Old Town area, the Whispering Sound. Gilly sees 3 towers, House Costain's seat, and Sand tells her, no, wait for the High Tower.
And here, a major new threat pops up. The sources say Ironmen are attacking the area. Not just a few reavers, but hundreds of ships. A big force from the Shield Islands, Stone Crab Cay, Isle of Pigs, Mermaid's Palace, all those rocks around the arbor.
Right, it really shows the scale of this invasion and how vulnerable the Reach is without Lord Redwine's fleet.
Exactly. And near a brothel in the Whispering Sound, Sam runs into Cat Arya again. Sees Darion playing music there. Overhears bits about little Narbo wanting to be an oarsman, Joss mentioning oysters. It's another one of those brief, almost accidental connections between these two characters, both so far from home, both hiding who they really are.
So let's follow Kat now and look closer at Arya's training in Braavos. She arrived on that huge ship, the Titan's Daughter.
And the city itself is described really vividly. Massive buildings, temples, towers, palaces, a huge contrast to places like King's Landing. Arya feels like a mouse again. Remember, he's feeling that way at Harrenhal. The sources even say she never seems to find the places she's trying to reach, which kind of suggests how lost she feels in this new, complex world.
She's taken to the House of Black and White. The priest there, dressed in those black and white robes, tells her he serves all of them.
She lives downstairs, below the temple, with others, the waif, acolytes, serving men, Uma the cook, who she can't understand. People there often don't have names or don't share them. The look of the acolytes, black on one side, white on the other, really pushes that duality theme. Arya gets plain servant's clothes, stripping away her old identity.
The kindly man starts her training by asking that basic question, who are you?
And she gives the answer she's been trying to live. No one. But he immediately calls it a lie. And this is where we see their methods. He says he can tell truth from lies just by reading faces, eyes, mouth, even jaw and neck muscles. Points out subtle tells like blinking, staring, looking away, licking lips, covering the mouth. He makes that powerful comparison. A false smile is as different from a true one as dusk from dawn.
And the waif is just relentless in driving this home, slaps Arya for chewing her lips, saying that's a habit of Arya of House Stark. It's this constant struggle to shed her old self.
The waif even shares some of her own story, giving a glimpse into how someone becomes no one. Turns out she was the only child, the heir of an ancient house. Mother died young, father remarried, and the new wife wanted her own daughter to inherit, so she tried to poison the waif.
The poison didn't kill her, but left her, like she is now. Healers told the father, so he brought the waif and sacrificed his wealth to the many-faced god. And in return, his wife got the gift. Death.
Arya's reaction is really telling. She asks if the kindly man killed the slave who gave the poison. She still sees the world in terms of masters and slaves, who deserves death and who doesn't, thinks he should have killed the masters.
Right, and the kindly man's response that he brings the gift to masters too, but that's a story for another day. It hints at the complexity of what they do and how much Arya still has to learn.
Okay, shifting gears from those personal journeys, let's zoom out and look at the centers of power, because the sources make it really clear things are, well, not good in King's Landing after Tywin Lannister's death. Absolutely not. Cersei's inspecting her father's body, all done up in crimson and gold armor, and she's really disturbed by his smile. Blames Pycelle for it. You see her suspicious mind working immediately. Guards are there. Kettleblack, Blount, Trant.
And they find something huge, a secret door, a passage behind the hearth. Plus, the jailer Rugen is gone and 2 guards are found asleep. This just throws fuel on Cersei's paranoia.
Yeah, she's instantly convinced Tyrion didn't just kill Tywin, but also her mother and Joffrey, and now he's coming for her. Just like that old woman's prophecy said, her reaction is swift, brutal, orders the sleeping guards killed. Sleep forever. Her paranoia makes her physically weak. She even recoils from Ser Boros, suspecting him too.
Her uncle Kevon's there, Lancel too, and the coughing Lord Giles. The Tyrells are there as well. Mace, Olenna, Garland, Margaery, and Cersei's already watching Margaery's ladies, looking for threats, for weaknesses.
Lancel Lannister gets described here, and wow, what a change. He's only 17, but looks 70. Gaunt, white hair. Cersei asks us why he hasn't gone to Derry, the lordship he got after the Blackwater.
And Lancel's answer just highlights the chaos outside the capital. Outlaws in his castle, the Riverlands needing a strong hand, he's being married off to some Frey widow he didn't choose, mentions the peasants are all dead. He reaches for Cersei's hand, starts saying he loves, but only gets out House Lannister before she finishes for him.
It's a massive signal he's changed, fundamentally, whether it's injuries, experience, maybe something else entirely. Cersei's internal thought about their past, dismissing him as just a boy pumping dutifully, really underscores her own coldness, how she sees people as tools.
Small council politics start immediately. Mace Tyrell suggests Garth the Gross for Master of Coin, his bastards for the gold cloaks. Cersei just shuts him down, gives the job to the sickly Lord Giles Rosby instead.
And this shows you her political strategy, or maybe lack of it. She plans to replace Giles with Littlefinger after he dies, convinced Littlefinger will come crawling back once Robert Arryn is taken from him in the Vale. It shows she's relying on, perceived loyalty in these distant schemes instead of just present competence.
Qyburn gives this grim update on Gregor Clegane. Dying, tormented by headaches, drinking milk of the poppy constantly, veins black, pus in his water, hole in his side.
Qyburn thinks it's amazing he's still alive, blames it on his size and stupidity. His screaming is so bad it scares Tommen and wakes Cersei up, which makes her decide to summon Ilan Payne. This really sets the stage for whatever Qyburn's planning with Gregor's body.
Uncle Caven tries to offer some actual sensible advice. Tells Cersei either yield the regency or name him Castellan of Casterly Rock and appoint a capable Tyrell bannerman like Mathis Rowan or Randall Tarly as hand to finish the war.
Caven's assessment of Rowan, sensible, prudent, and Tarly, best soldier, is sharp. He argues either choice would strengthen Cersei by weakening Highgarden, might even get Mace's thanks. Caven also says he's taking Tywin's body home. It's clear, competent advice being offered, and as we see, pretty much ignored.
We get a quick look into Jaime's head in Baelor's Sept after Tywin's death. The smell, the sunset, the stars reminds him of battlefields, crows feasting on the dead, like Rhaegar after the trident.
And this leads him to that powerful thought. How much can a crown be worth when a crow can dine upon a king? Thinks the crows should thank Tywin for all the battles he fed them.
The image of Tywin's smile getting wider in his mind, grinning like a bridegroom, it's so disturbing it makes Jaime laugh out loud in the Sept. Shows his really complex reaction to his father's death, his own place in things.
The dynamic between Cersei and Jaime is just electric, but so strained. She immediately wants him to be her spy in Tommen's room when Margaery's there, fearing danger even for a young boy, brings up that bizarre story about Ossifer Plum fathering a child after he was dead.
James, confused, feels useless without his sore hand.
Cersei brushes it off, demands he swear to stay by Tommen all night. She refuses to make Loras Tyrell master-at-arms, for Tom wants him fighting and dying, not training the king.
She's scrambling to find someone suitable, someone she trusts, thinking about Talad or Dermot. Tommen likes Osney Kettleblack as a sworn shield, but Cersei notes he's less useful with Margaery around, and she has other plans for his brother, Osred.
She even has this weird moment of pity that the Hound is gone, thinking Tommen feared him, and his scorn would have been a good antidote to Loras's chivalry. Tommen's childish demands so Loras, a kitten, no beats make Jaime laugh again.
Cersei just snaps, slaps the bathwater, insists Tommen doesn't command her, she's his mother. Tommen, probably coached by Margaery, says he is king and everyone does what the king says. As she gets up, Jaime glances at the water between her legs.
And she accuses him of pining for what they lost.
And Jaime hits back with that stinging line, "I love you too, sweet sister, but you're a fool, a beautiful golden fool." The sources say it really stings her, makes her remember kinder times.
But she immediately pivots back to politics and war, demands River Run taken, the Blackfish dead or chained, needs someone for Harrenhal, mentions Wylis Manderly, but the garrison isn't even answering ravens anymore, shows how communication and control are breaking down.
Jaime brings up his oath to Catelyn Stark, that drunken promise with a sword at his throat, not to fight Starks or Tullys.
Cersei just dismisses it. How can he defend Tommen if he's not with him? Argues a swift sword is better than a shield, acknowledging his hand issue, but insists even a crippled lion is feared, and then she orders him to the Riverlands with Ilan Payne.
Sending him with the guy who executed Ned Stark, and tasking him with taking River Run against his oath. It feels deliberate, maybe testing him, maybe just getting him out of the way.
Could be both.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, this major new power emerges in King's Landing, the Faith Militant. Cersei runs into Septon Reynard and 6 warrior sons, 7 total, reflecting the High Sparrow's thing for holy numbers.
The description of the warrior sons is striking: faith colors, crystals, those big old conquest-style shields with rainbow swords.
Qyburn reports nearly 100 knights have pledged, more coming daily. This isn't just religion, it's an armed force challenging the crown.
Adding to the crisis, merchants show up telling Cersei the Iron Bank of Braavos is calling in its loans and refusing new ones. This shows the massive financial pressure the crowd is under. Cersei floats this idea of a golden bank of Lannisport, but for now just tells the merchants to pay the Braavosi. She's grasping at straws, lacks the stability or resources.
Cersei visits Margaery, who's now imprisoned in a sept. Confined, separated from her cousins, only visitors are septas, waking her hourly for fornication confessions.
Yeah, it really highlights how oppressive the Faith's custody is, their methods. Margaery's frustration is palpable. Admits she confessed she wanted to scratch Septa Urnella's eyes out.
Things deteriorate fast. Merryweather resigns from the council, flees. Orain Waters takes the royal fleet out to sea. Harry fears Stannis. Pycelle thinks piracy.
Cersei calls bastards treacherous, feels lost, completely overwhelmed. But Qyburn, ever the optimist, assures her there's still hope, reminds her she can have a trial by battle with his champion, who he claims is unbeatable.
Cersei reacts with that dark humor, calls it a jape from the gods, because her champion, a Kingsguard, is forbidden from fighting for her honor. Realizes she needs new king's justice since Jaime took pain.
She's still obsessed with Margaery having a lover high treason, but needs proof, a confession. Wonders if a lover might confess unless. Questions Osmond Kettleblack about Osney's fighting skill, still thinking about Osfred for some other job.
And in this moment of reflection, Cersei thinks about her enemies. Bronn, Lollys, Orton, Taena, and, tellingly, thinks she makes a better king than Robert ever did.
This mix of plotting, paranoia, self-delusion, it's reaching a boiling point. The confrontation with the Faith really escalates when Cersei demands the High Sparrow release. Margaery and her cousins tries to assert her authority.
But in Baelor's Sept Plaza, sparrows block her path. The description is intense, unwashed, rank, hostile. They've desecrated Baelor's statue with a mountain of carrion bones, skulls, rotting stuff.
A sparrow with a star carved on his forehead tells her the warrior, not the fat boy king, will defend them. Meryn Trant reaches for his sword.
But Cersei stops him. She sees it 2 nights against a sea of armed sparrows. Tries to appeal to them, mothers, children, no blood in a holy place. But armed men block the doors. It's a direct challenge, showing the Faith's popular power against the crown.
Later, she reminds Tommen how the mob tore the last fat High Septon apart, which scares him. She keeps believing Margaery's stealing him, that the Tyrells were behind everything with Sansa, freeing Tyrion, sending him off to marry Sansa.
Yeah, these sources paint a picture of Cersei just completely unraveling. Consumed by these conspiracies that are driving her actions, making things worse, pushing the realm deeper into crisis.
While that's going on, let's follow Jaime Lannister. He's been sent back to the Riverlands with ill and pain.
Right. The sources describe their journey, camping near Hayfords. Jaime setting sentries, remembers his Uncle Stafford at Oxcross. Shows his military mind still working.
He gets to River Run, meets Brynden Tully, the Blackfish. The description, jet and gold brooch, grim armor, craggy face, and Jaime recognizing him from stories of the Ninepenny Kings, it sets up the Blackfish's legendary status. And the Blackfish clearly despises him.
Jaime has to deal with the unpleasantness of the phrase, too.
Yeah.
Especially Edwin, who's calling the Blackwood men traitors. Jaime just throws it right back at them, reminds them they betrayed Robb Stark, making him twice as treacherous, ends the meeting, orders prep for attack.
He has that brief, awkward interaction with Ryman Frey, who's drunk with his equally drunk partner, wearing that weird circlet with runes and swords. And then they find out Ryman Frey's been hanged near Fairmarket by outlaws, specifically mentioning Dondarrion, Thoros, and Stoneheart.
This confirms it. The outlaws in the Riverlands aren't just random bandits. They're organized, led by familiar, terrifying figures. Jaime, predictably, has zero sympathy for Ryman Fool, Craven, drunk, but he gets the significance. Outlaws are getting bolder if they're hanging Lord Walder's heir.
Jaime makes a calculated move. Burns Ryman's gallows and all the siege gear, rams, sows, towers, trebuchets at the Tumblestone. Tells Daemon Lannister, torch it all. Plans to deal with Lord Titus Blackwood without a long siege.
And in his quiet moments, Jaime's grappling with himself. Tells himself he's no Aemon the Dragon Knight. Riley thinks, ask Edmure how chivalrous I am, remembering how he used Edmure to take the castle before.
But despite all that, he feels this grim satisfaction that the war seems to be ending. Dragonstone, Storm's End falling, Stannis at the wall facing doom. He thinks he's kept his oath to Catelyn by not taking arms directly against Starks or Tullus in the Riverlands.
He wants to find the Blackfish, get back to King's Landing, be with Tommen, but immediately questions what Tommen would do if he knew the truth that could cost him the throne. Father or chair. Assumes Cersei would lie. He sees he needs to get Tommen away from her before he becomes another Joffrey.
And then, surprisingly, Jaime starts thinking about a new small council. Lisk Caven, others like Prester, Craig Hall, Mathis Rowan, and Peter Baelish. Describes Littlefinger as amiable, clever, lowborn, no swords, the perfect hand.
That thought from Jaime is really striking. Shows he recognizes Littlefinger's skills, despite everything. Suggests a surprising political pragmatism may be developing in the King's Lair.
Let's shift again, head up to the Vale and the complicated situation with Sansa Stark living as Elaine under Littlefinger's protection.
The sources really contrast her life now at the Eyrie with Winterfell. Remembers praying for a singer there, gods never answered. Now she's a maiden, nights full of song. But it's Marillion in the Sky Cell, and she just prays for silence.
The description of the Sky Cells, that open-air wall, makes it feel so stark, so dangerous. And Marillion's songs are dark, Dance of the Dragons, betrayal, murder, hanged men, grief, just echoing all the tragedy.
Robert Arryn is still deeply disturbed, reacts strongly. He killed my mother, cries, wants Marillion to fly. Peter's reaction is just coldly practical. Shrugs it off, says Robert won't be Lord much longer anyway. Lord Nestor Royce is coming.
Sansa is terrified of Nestor Royce, Keeper of the Gates of the Moon, trusted by Jon Arryn, doesn't want him seeing Marillion, highlights how precarious her disguise is, how tight Peter's control needs to be.
Robert's physical condition is detailed too. Shaking fits, trembling head jerks, chattering teeth, flailing, wetting himself. Maester Colomon's helpless. Others, like Nestor, have seen the fits.
Peter's response to one fit is chilling. Best take his lordship back to bed and bleed him. Robert throws food, hits Colomon, then Elaine with milk. Peter's disgusted. It paints this picture of just deeply dysfunctional guardianship.
And Peter's juggling the Lords Declarant Templeton, Hunter Redford, Bronze Jon Royce. They want him gone from the Vale, say Harrenhal is enough for him.
Peter defends himself. Lysa chose him and trusted her son to him. Bronze Jon argues Robert belongs to the Vale, he's Jon Arryn's son. Peter pretends to be confused, points out the Eyrie is in the Vale.
He reminds them others wanted to marry Lysa, control the Vale, mentions the Corby brothers' Lord Lionel, who's okay with Peter, and Sir Lynn, the famous one with Lady Forlorn. Sir Lynn wanted Lysa too, and Robert Arryn hates him, doesn't want him at the Eyrie. Peter uses Robert's feelings to his advantage.
Peter tells Robert his mother's dead, he'll rule until Robert's 16th name day, just reinforcing his temporary control. These interactions show Peter balancing control over Robert with the political pressure from the Lords Declarant.
The Eyrie itself is described as, beautiful white stone, impregnable, but also empty like a tomb when Peter's gone. Silent, no laughter.
Sources note no septons, no heart trees. Feels like silent gods, unanswered prayers. Wind sighs, rattles the moon door, like a cold white prison in winter.
As winter sets in, Elaine makes that dangerous descent down the giant's lance steps, worn smooth, water bowls frozen solid. Travels with Miranda Race, who teases her about blushing, asks if her father Peter will remarry, even asks about Littlefinger's size.
These seemingly small questions from Miranda hint at all the underlying calculations and gossip going on, even among the younger ones. Maya Stone's descending with them too, helping the richly dressed but terrified Robert Arryn.
Maya Stone herself almost gets blown off the edge by the wind, just underscoring how dangerous it is just moving around up there. Maya, always practical, takes her mule down first, plans to come back for Roberts. Just a snapshot of the challenges in this high, isolated place.
Okay, let's travel way south now, to Dorne and the Martells. Prince Doran is dealing with his own set of problems.
We meet Prince Doran, noted for his age, his gout. Emphasizes his physical limits, but also his need to project strength as Prince of Dorne. There's talk of meeting Myrcella and her Kingsguard, Ser Ares. Ariohota, the guard captain, has his internal thought notes. Ares serves the Iron Throne, senses they'll fight someday, and Ares will die by his axe. Creates tension right away.
Doran is tired from the gout, from grief. Lady Nin joins him on the road, but he says gout and grief are poor company. Doesn't seem comforted.
He plans to go back to the Water Gardens with Myrcella and her crew. Finds Sunspear tiring the noise, dirt, smells. The Water Gardens are his haven, built by Prince Meryn for his Targaryen bride, marking Dorne's union with the Iron Throne. Having other highborn kids there from Myrcella shows Doran's strategy, trying to integrate her safely.
In a surprisingly open moment, Doran admits to Ser Ares he's frail, failing, terrified. Hears whispering, knives sharpening under Sunspear.
This is critical. Ser Ares realizes Doran is genuinely afraid, his hands shaking. It reveals the deep unrest, the expectation of conflict boiling beneath Doran's calm surface. The threat isn't just outside, it's within his own family, his own court.
We also see Arianne Martell thinking about her brother Quentyn's secret mission. He carried parchments sealed with the sun and spear. Her cousin didn't dare break the seal. Adds mystery to Quentyn's fate.
She's talking with Sir Gerald Dane, Darkstar, traveling the sands. Her veiling her face is a cultural detail, and she mocks Ser Ares for not doing it, noting his sweating and blushing.
She remembers that line from The Young Dragon. The sun is the more deadly weapon in Dorne. Connects practical advice to history. Arianne's story takes a turn, though, when her father imprisons her.
While locked up, she writes a secret letter asking for rescue. offers a big reward, promises marriage to whoever saves her, calls herself the lawful heir, says the man who marries her rules Dorne, wants a consort with teeth, not old men. Clearly signals her ambition, her defiance.
Doran later confronts Arianne, tells her Sir Aerys died because of her actions, says he washed out his dishonor with his life's blood. Arianne believes Aerys died protecting her.
Doran explicitly links her desire for war to Aerys' death, calls him the first of many, trying to impress on her the consequences of her actions, tells her Sir Balon Swan is coming, bringing Gregor Clegane's head.
Doran's bannermen have been deliberately slowing Swan down with hospitality hunting, feasting, games.
Swan will expect to see Myrcella and Sir Aerys when he arrives. Doran faces this complex problem. What lie to tell about Aerys' death? Hunting accident, tumble, drowning. Shows Doran's calculated effort to manage the fallout, maybe hide how far Arianne's plot went.
Finally, let's jump to the Iron Islands and the kingsmoot. We get Aaron Damfair's perspective, praying, restless, absolutely devout.
He believes a woman, Asha, can't rule the Ironborn. Favors Victarion strong, dutiful Quelon's strongest son, but notes Victarion follows tradition, hates Euron deeply since the woman died. Some past trauma there. Aaron sees Euron as godless, surrounded by monsters.
At the kingsmoot, Dunstan Drum offers bronze. Aaron dismisses it. Aaron loudly calls for Victarion.
Asha arrives, gives a speech that's totally different from traditional Ironborn thinking, argues they need to learn from Robb Stark won battles, lost everything.
She brings out chests, not with treasure, but pebbles from the stony shore, pine cones from Deepwood Moat, yellow turnips she calls Winterfell gold. It's a powerful visual argument against their raiding strategy in the north.
The challenge is Harmut Sharp, his son, died at Winterfell for a turnip. Asks if he'd trade more sons for turnips and still shout Victarion's name. It's blunt, practical, highlights the cost.
Then Euron arrives. Big spectacle, cloth of gold tent, huge noise. His claim is audacious. He knows where to find 3 dragons.
And crucially, when his chest's open, actual gold spills out. The crowd is instantly won over. Dragons plus real gold. They cheer, Euron, Euron, Euron King.
Aaron is filled with doubt, terror. Hears only the scream of a rusted iron hinge instead of his god amidst the cheering. Highlights that clash. His faith versus Euron's secular gold-driven power.
He plans to fight back by appealing to the common folk. The waves, tillers, fishers. His message. No godless man may sit the seastone chair. Aaron vanishes, planning to undermine Euron from below.
Victarion's reaction is typical, calls Asha mad for thinking pebbles and talk can stop Euron, believes the Kraken grasps, doesn't lose.
Victarion initially thinks Euron fled, but is later seen drinking with the barber, someone Euron made a lord.
Shows Victarion's complicated mix of resentment and maybe eventual acceptance of Euron's power.
We also get a peek at the Harlaw family through Lord Rodrik Harlaw talking with Asha. Rodrik's old, frail, dying is not dead, reads a lot.
His wife, Lady Alanus, is stronger now, eating, sleeping better. But before, she was lost in grief, wandering pike looking for her lost sons, getting splinters in her bare feet from the bridge. Asha plans to visit her mother, reminds us of the human cost of all this reaving. Rodrik discusses his bannerman's ambitions, names Sir Harris Harlaw, the knight, his heir, suggests Harris can rule from Greygarden, protect Asha if she swears fealty for the castle, shows the complex family politics playing out after the kingsmoot.
Wow, okay. We have covered so much ground, right across Westeros and even into Braavos. Let's try and pull back now, look at some of the big themes, the connections running through all these different sources.
Yeah, what really stands out is just the sheer chaos and instability everywhere. The capital's reeling from Tywin's death, caught between Lannisters, Tyrells, and this aggressive new faith militant. The Riverlands are infested with outlaws, some really terrifying figures back from the past.
You see the veil fracturing under Littlefinger's scheming, challenged by the Lord's declarant, while the actual Lord is this sickly kid. Dorne is split internally Doran's caution versus his family's desire for war and revenge.
And the Iron Islands just picked a leader, Euron, who's all about risk, gold, and these maybe impossible promises of dragons. Across the board, the established powers are just under immense strain.
Deception and hidden truths are just everywhere in these pages, aren't they? Littlefinger's motives are always questionable. Cersei's building these elaborate conspiracy theories out of her paranoia.
Arya is literally training to become someone else, learning how to spot and use deception. The waif's own tragic past is hidden. There's the secret passage, the cover story for Aerys' death, Euron's cryptic claims. The sources constantly show you, appearances, words, rarely straightforward.
The burden of leadership really weighs heavily. Prince Doran is physically weak and consumed by fear. Cersei is collapsing under her paranoia, struggling to control the council, the faith.
Peter Baelish is constantly juggling the Lord's Declarant and Robert Arryn's fragility. Even Lord Roderick Harlaw is thinking about his own death and who comes next. Power doesn't seem to bring much comfort or security here.
And we see different kinds of strength clashing. There's brute physical strength, sure, Gregor Clegane, Brienne, Victarion, Sir Lyn Corbray.
But that's set against other kinds of power. Cersei's ruthless politics, Littlefinger's cunning, Euron swaying crowds with gold and promises, the Faith's collective fervor. You've got Arya learning a totally different kind of strength, Sam using knowledge and just sheer persistence, Aemon offering wisdom. Characters like Brienne and Sam are on these personal quests, trying to navigate a world dominated by these brutal power struggles.
Prophecy and how people interpret it, that plays a big role too. Maester Aemon, with his last breath, reinterprets a key prophecy, points to Daenerys as the real hope, calls Stannis' Lightbringer a false light.
While Cersei is haunted by her own prophecy of doom, filtering everything through that lens, feeding her paranoia to dangerous levels.
Family and duty are just constant sources of conflict. Lancel's torn between family, his past with Cersei, his new faith. Jaime is grappling with broken vows, his destructive love for Cersei and Tommen.
The Greyjoy siblings are rivals after their father's death. Different visions, old resentments. The Lannister siblings' bond is deeply fractured. The Arryn family's a mess, leaving a power vacuum. Littlefinger's happy to fill. And finally, the weight of the past is always there. Tywin's death kicks off chaos. Renly's death drives Brienne. Robb Stark's fate is a warning. The Red Wedding's trauma echoes. Past battles, broken vows, old relationships, they all shape the choices characters are making now. So as we pull back from this deep dive, it's pretty clear, isn't it? The threads of power, ambition, personal struggle, they're all tightly woven together across these regions, creating a realm that feels like it's right on the brink.
Yeah, we've seen characters wrestling with who they are, navigating these treacherous political landscapes, or sometimes just trying to survive, trying to finish a quest in a world that feels increasingly out of control.
These excerpts really give you a vivid snapshot of a realm in turmoil. The fight for the throne, the survival of great houses, it's all deeply tangled up with these individual journeys. Journeys defined by loss, by duty, and that often tricky search for truth.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? With all this deception, all the misinterpretations, these clashing ambitions, and the rise of unpredictable forces like the Faith Militant or Euron's gold-fueled power, how long can the established centers hold before something just completely breaks? Catastrophically, maybe?
And how will the paths of those scattered people, Brienne looking for Sansa, Sam trying to get help for Aemon and Daenerys, Arya forging this new identity, how will their paths ultimately cross with the larger conflicts that are brewing?
That's definitely something for you to mull over as you continue processing these insights. We hope this deep dive has given you a richer, maybe more complex understanding of everything presented in this source material.